Madam Speaker, when you look at the report, you realize that the control of budget also brought in very, very serious insights that I think we need to ask ourselves a few questions, regardless of whether we will like her or not. But one thing she brings out very clearly is that there is no way as a government we can spend 4 or 5 billion on debt interest expenses composed of domestic interest payments worth that money, and then again we come with 300 billion and that's foreign interest payments worth of 1 or 5 billion. And she questions us and says, if we continue with this trend, Madam Speaker, the country is going to have itself in a distress form. What we need to ask ourselves, Madam Speaker, and Parliament has been given that opportunity to indeed interrogate all these reports, to indeed interrogate the budget. But one thing we are not coming out, Madam Speaker, which this House can help the country, is how do we come out and look at different resources that we have, be it our natural resources, Madam Speaker, our minerals, and ask ourselves, is there a way we can use our minerals to ensure we pay some of these debts, Madam Speaker? Some of these debts, Madam Speaker, we pay and we find ourselves we have not even managed to use. That we are just paying interest on something because we went and we agreed we will borrow, but even the borrowing has not arrived in the country. Time has come, especially in the last administration, that was the biggest challenge, that we have borrowed money and we are unable to spend. Then now we arrive and find ourselves with very high interest, Madam Speaker. And then we come again and we start complaining, and today we are here. We have raised everything we can, Madam Speaker, but the most important thing we need to ask ourselves, in all this, how do we now rebalance ourselves and look at the different sectors that are either ailing, sectors like our different parastatals that we have, Madam Speaker. We have to ask ourselves, we have to sit down as a country and agree. It is time we agree there's so much that we can do in national government to find ourselves with revenues that we can take over and start dealing with this risk, with the debt that we have, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the other thing, when you read the report, the Auditor General now comes in, and again, in a way of advising government, she says very clearly that the government continues to pay commitment fees incurred on undrawn amounts regarding loans signed between the government of Kenya and foreign lenders. And then, Madam Speaker, the question now comes in. If that is what is happening, how do we now sit down and renegotiate these loans? Since we have not spent, I believe we can renegotiate. I believe there is a way we can even now sit and say, we borrow where it is cheaper and repay all those loans and remain now with a loan that you can carry forward so that you don't strain the country the way we are, Madam Speaker. And so therefore, Treasury has to come and sit and ensure there are some loans. Do we need those loans? If indeed they were meant to do roads, they were meant to do, and now time has gone, and even some of these things have been overtaken by events, do we still need the loans should be the question. And that is one thing that when we get our budgets, Madam Speaker, we are waiting to see how Treasury is now advising us that yes, we have our budgets, this is the total amount that we want to spend, but we have a framework we are bringing in on how we can relook at ourselves and work within what we have budgeted for, regardless of, I know we will say we need more money than what we want, but we are saying as a country, let us spend what we have. So, Madam Speaker, as I support this, I am waiting to see.
The Honorable Didi Nyoro.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I first of all want to thank and congratulate the Chairman, Honorable Shurie, of course with the entire